Welcome back to the MMA Plug, presented to you by the Talk of Colorado on 98.1 FM, Mile High Sports Radio. I'm your host, Jordan Kurtz, sitting here alongside UFC middleweight Josh Frem. You can give me a follow at Comments from the Peanut Gallery. Give him a follow at Josh Frem MMA. If you're watching along on the online segments, make sure that you smash that subscribe button. We're going to be getting into the UFC 275 preview. Josh, they are back overseas, and it is going to be a pretty stacked card overall. We have a couple of legends, if you will, in their own respect that are competing on this card that are both title holders right now. We're going to get into each of these matchups. Starting off in the main event, we have Glover Teixeira, who has been one of the most tried and true veterans throughout the history, really, of MMA. If you go back and you know any of Glover's story of his visa issues early on, he should have been in the UFC years prior to when he was actually there. He was a longtime training partner of the Iceman Chuck Liddell himself. He's going to be taking on a menacing threat in Yuri Prochazka. That is a scary guy in his own way. Like, that is just a complete, like, samurai. Like, if you imagine a complete martial arts nerd in a way, that is Yuri. Like, the complete hairdo all the way down to a T.
Like you said it, dude. He is the embodiment of martial arts. He's out in the woods, training like a samurai, doing all these unorthodox things. That
sitting on crystals.
There's a bunch of people who believe crystals work, but hey, to each his own. You know, do your thing. But Glover Teixeira versus Yuri is a very, very intriguing matchup because we've seen Glover go through his last 3-4 fights just taking damage, wearing it, and then eventually wearing on the opponent, pounding him out, getting a submission. But the big question, I think, Jordan, I don't know if you feel this way, is if Glover can withstand another barrage of punches like he did against Anthony Smith or anyone else that he did compete against, Thiago Santos, Jan.
Not that he had to go through a whole ton with Jan, but he did get stuck.
Yeah. And if he can withstand that from Yuri for about a round and a half, then I think Glover's in business.
I think if Glover gets past the 7.5 mark, it is all him, baby.
Are you referencing what I think you're referencing?
I don't know.
Maybe,
possibly.
Moving on. That's a little side joke that you guys yins don't get to hear. But yeah, I think. But I'm also fearful for Glover because Yuri is just a crazy unorthodox striker, and he has power in everything he throws. And Glover has taken so much damage in his last couple fights. Is he going to be able to withstand one more barrage?
Josh, I think that's a very fair point, but to counter that, I will also say that in every one of Yuri's fights so far in the UFC, Yuri has also been hurt at one point in that contest.
Yes.
Whether it was Devulkin, whether it was in his last fight with Dominic Reyes, there was a point where Dom had him in trouble, and he just happened to have that spinning back elbow from hell that just obliterated Dom, and Dom hasn't fought since, you know?
Yeah.
But that being said, if Glover is able to be crafty enough to slip out of some of those crazy, just awkward angles that Yuri throws from, because just like you said, like, he's not completely traditional in that way. Like, he's going to throw with heavy heat from awkward angles, and that's what kind of makes him so dangerous.
Yeah.
But also, Glover is such a strong boxer that I would like to think that as long as he can gauge the distance, that he'll be able to do just enough to avoid the big shot. Now, he might very well get clipped, and this could be something that ends in the first couple of minutes, and you see Yuri have his hand raised. But if we're talking riding with a vet who has the it factor, you know, all the things throughout all the years, Glover's always been one of the top guys in the division. But now I think that Glover's resurgence is also hand in hand with Alex Bejeda. I think that that's a very strong correlation between each of their success right now at the current moment. You start factoring that in, you know, I don't know. I think that you're going to get some of those. basically the same thing like we said with Tai Tuivasa and Mark Hunt about how he was consistently seeing hard, heavy heat. Is that the same factor that he's going to get from a guy like Alex Pereira?
I definitely think, it's Alex Pereira. Yeah. He's getting that same heat. He's getting even a faster speed, maybe. I don't know. I don't want to go out on a limb and say that Alex Pereira hits harder than Yuri, because that would just be absurd because of the weight difference and everything. But seeing those type of speed shots, yeah, it would be beneficial for you. But to counter that, I think that Alex Pereira is more traditional.
Absolutely.
It is more of a traditional striker, whereas Yuri is unorthodox in a sense of his striking. So it is going to be weird. Like, I don't think Pereira would even try and replicate that.
Yeah, and let's be fair and let's be completely honest about it. Is there really anybody out there who can mimic Yuri?
No. Like, this is not a style that we have seen, and I think this is why he's
my style.
He's doing such a great job with everything, with his presence, with his social media presence, with I'm not saying it's an act, but whatever shtick. Thank you, Curtsy. I can't speak. Whatever shtick he's leaning into, the way of the warrior, everything like that, and it goes with his fighting style. He's doing everything perfect because we haven't seen anyone like that. Last time we saw someone like that, it was kind of a Conor McGregor in the way he kicked and the way his stance was, that everyone would see a wide stance after Conor McGregor got into the game. But now that Yuri's here and he's up at the top, you're going to see a lot more of these non-traditional, unorthodox strikers who are going to come and have this kind of success because, let's be honest, these are 4-ounce gloves we're talking about. You hit someone in the right spot at the right time, it doesn't matter. Your lights are going off. That's biology. It's just how it works.
Yeah, I mean, the game is going to continuously evolve, especially based on us being at less than 30 years into the UFC as a whole. It's still a baby. It's still an infant.
We talked about that last week. Guys, I'm 28 years old. Guess how old the UFC is? 28 years old. So now, we're still in the new beginnings of a sport. But yeah, in 10 years, we're going to see a completely different style of fighting that we've never would have thought would work.
Certainly. When it gets down to it, Josh, who are you going with? And what do you foresee as an outcome here?
Looking at the odds now, shop your bets wherever you want. But where I'm looking right now has Glover at a plus 170. And look, I've said this before, and I've said it before that. I always thought that Glover was just going to be too old. He takes too much damage. It can't happen. It can't work. Well, I was wrong those last 2 times. So this time, I'm going to go with Glover. I'm not going to say a round or anything in particular. I do see the only way Glover winning is wearing out Yuri. And we haven't seen Yuri face someone who's going to put him on his back. Like, his last couple fights weren't against grapplers, weren't against wrestlers. So, like we saw with Jan, Jan was never put on his back. Glover put him on his back. We found out the answer to that riddle. And I think that it's going to be the same with Yuri. Like, we've never seen his ground game. So I'm going to go with the tried and true jiu-jitsu.
I will see you and I will raise you. I'm going to go with Glover. I think that it's going to be the over. And I think that Glover wins by submission.
I like that. That's good odds. Definitely go with the over for sure.
I think that if Glover is to win, it is certainly going to be by the over. I don't know that he's going to be able to wrangle Yuri down in that early stage, but get him tired.
Yeah.
Use your body up against the fence, wear him down a little bit, just keep on cooking him. And then if it gets beyond that, I think that especially just like you mentioned, if he's able to put Yuri down to the mat, I think that Glover could very well take his back and choke him out. Just a long time, tried and true black belt right there that just has more years in the game than Yuri at this point. It's not to say that Yuri's not a strong ground game guy because we don't know that.
We just don't know.
But we do know what Glover can do.
Yeah, we've seen it time and time again.
There's a reason why there's 12 pounds of gold around his waist.
Amen.
That's exactly how he won it.
And also, if any of you win on those bets and you got those bets from us, my Venmo is @JoshFrem. Give me your 10%.
go ahead and hit him up with that. Now, if we're moving along to the co-main event, you have arguably, in my opinion, and I think that it's just going to keep on creeping more toward that point, but Valentina Shevchenko, as she's the women's flyweight champion, she's taken on number 4 contender Natalia Santos, but I believe that Valentina Shevchenko, in my opinion, is the best female fighter alive right now.
All right, Jordan. I love what you're saying right there. I'm going to let you finish. But does this sound familiar? Has this come out of our mouths before? Have we said something like this before about a certain someone and then we look like complete idiots afterwards?
Well, to be fair, I said that it was Valentina before it was Amanda.
I guess you're right.
So but that's always just been my thought, because I thought, it's just my opinion that up a weight class at 135, that second fight with Amanda, I think Valentina won that fight. And especially if you go back and you look and you see the damage factor, which is supposed to be one of the highest weighted categories as far as the judging goes, her face was rose with her punches. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I don't know, like I said, but if you look at the resume beyond that, once she's gone down to 125 pounds, the way that she completely obliterated Priscilla Cachoeira into Mario Yamasaki's retirement, and then going on to one of the greatest head kick knockouts ever with Jessica Ai,
phenomenal,
to dominating every top contender after top contender. They wanted to say, oh, Jessica Andrade is going to be one of the biggest threats to her. She went out there and dominated her. They said, oh, Jessica Andrade would be able to out-wrestle Valentina. Well, Valentina showed that she wasn't getting out-wrestled that night. And not only that, the way that she was able to just completely immobilize Jessica on the ground. Like, that just goes to show you how well-versed that Valentina is all the way around. And Josh, she's a world champion when she was like 15 years old.
Yeah, absolute just stud her entire life. Just going out there. And just the life of a martial artist. She's been able to go in every fight and show different facets of her game. So this isn't like a Yuri situation where we just haven't seen it. We've seen it all with Valentina. Like, she has showed us time and time again that she is the best, well-rounded mixed martial artist in the women's division.
And is Santos a killer in her own right? Certainly. It's not to slight her or to disrespect her, but I feel like, just based off of what I've seen from her versus Valentina, I just think at 125 pounds is Valentina in the field.
Yeah.
I don't think that the gap is even close. Now, there could always be the chance that, based off of the tools that Santos said, she can clip her. I mean, that could happen on any given night. It's fight. It's combat sports. That can happen. But I just don't think that Valentina is going to be the one to let it slip up. Like, especially, like, she seems so dialed in, and just her talking throughout this week, like, she's talking about, like, I'm not trying to go based off of what other people did. Like, I'm trying to push myself to as far as I can and in my human existence. When she starts saying stuff like that, like, Bullet, I am all bought in.
I'm in. I definitely agree with you. The way that she looks at this sport is just completely different than any other female champion that I've seen. And I think that she is, like, she's dialed in all the time. Like, she turns it on when it's needed. And that's why I'm going to go with Valentina this weekend as well.
And Josh, I also would not be surprised if it's a heavy grappling affair from Valentina, simply because her fight IQ is so strong that I don't think that, especially if she feels that there's any sort of danger on the feet, like, she'll know.
Yeah.
Like, Valentina's that she's that damn good to where she's going to know within the first minute of that fight what the threat is.
Yeah.
If she feels like it's maybe playing with fire a little bit, okay, I'm going to take you where I know that you are not as good.
Mm-hmm.
And she's just going to be able to dictate the fight. That's the way that I see it. Shocker. I'm going out on a limb here and taking Valentina.
Shocker.
Jordan,
who do you have for your feature this weekend?
So, feature this weekend, actually, we should talk about the feature fight for a second real quick.
You know what? I jumped the gun. Yes, we should.
Because that is a rematch of the 2020 fight of the year and what the general consensus calls the greatest women's MMA fight of all time. You have it ran back between Zhang Weili, the current number 2 contender, against Joanna Jędrzejczyk. Joanna doesn't have a ranking by her name, but it's only because she hasn't fought since that last fight.
Yeah.
And it's just a technicality as far as when they pulled her from the rankings. But
Yeah.
she'll be reinserted right back in that top 5, possibly top contender should she beat Zhang.
I'm a huge Joanna fan. So you know who I'm going with in this fight. And I think that the time off was well needed, both of them, because that was an absolute war that we watched between them, and she kind of looked like Megamind afterwards. So the time off is definitely needed, and I think that she did the right things in that time. So, hey, Joanna, let's go.
I wouldn't be surprised if Weili tries to wrestle a little bit more in this matchup.
I could see that. Yeah.
Especially just because of her work with Triple C.
Mm-hmm.
Wouldn't be surprised, but I got to ride with the heart on this one. This is all emotion. This isn't necessarily the head.
All feelings, no facts.
Boogie Woman's coming for you. I got to go with Joanna and Jacek in that one.
The heart wants what the heart wants.
The heart wants what the heart wants. That is a very well put statement right there, Josh Fremd. If we're moving along to our features of the evening, Josh, who do you have for your feature bout?
Ooh. I was going to do this one, but I'm going to change it at the last minute because I think this guy needs more shine. I don't think he's gotten enough just yet because of the things he's doing and the way he's going about it. The Andre Fialo and Jake Matthews fight. Hey, Kurtzy, can you tell the fans how many times has Andre Fialo fought in the last 3-4 months?
Fought a bunch of times in the last few months. He has the opportunity. If, say, he goes out and wins this fight, he can have 3 wins in 3 months.
3 wins in 3 months consecutively. And might be wrong, but maybe 2 out of the 3 bonuses of the night.
He's had 2 knockouts so far.
2 knockouts, and I believe one of them was a bonus.
One of them was a bonus. I don't know if both of them were, but potentially, depending on how the card shakes up, could be a third opportunity.
Could be a third opportunity. The guy is
stacking that bread.
The dude's stacking the bread, and he's just one of those guys. Another guy out of Sanford MMA who is just about that lifestyle. He's a warrior. He goes out, he fights, goes home, trains, eats some good food. Oh, hey, another opportunity to fight. Let's go do it. So I'm definitely interested in that matchup for sure. I think that Andre just has so much momentum on his side that I think that he's going to be able to pull this one out against Jake Matthews as well.
Yeah, I think that's going to be a great fight to see there. For me, as far as my feature matchup, I want to put the spotlight on Brendan Allen, who's taking on Jacob Malkoun. I think that that's going to be a matchup where obviously you have Malkoun, who's a specialist coming from down under, and Brendan Allen is running off of, he just got back in the winner's column a couple of months ago against Sam Alvey, had a tough loss a couple of months before that to Chris Curtis, but Brendan Allen is definitely one of the more promising prospects that has came up through the LFA ranks, was a former LFA champion, and has found some success so far in the UFC. Again, another guy who's gone down to Sanford.
Yeah.
I think that's going to be a great matchup to see. You know, it's going to be a potential tough night if Brendan decides to stay on the feet. I think that he needs to figure out whatever way that he can to grapple and make this a mixed martial artist fight.
Yeah, I mean, let's not forget, like, Brendan Allen is a black belt himself, you know, and this is not that I don't have any love or whatever for Jacob Malkoun. I just think that, you know, the way he got into the UFC was because he was a training partner of Robert Whittaker. He was 6-0 at the time, maybe. Yeah, because he lost to Phil Hawes, right. A teammate of Brendan Allen, also from Sanford. So, honestly, guys, I personally believe that this is just going to be a walk in the park for Brendan Allen. And I think it's crazy that you have Brendan Allen to win by a KO or TKO sitting at a plus 275. That is money that you could be making on that. I'm not saying that Malkoun is less of a fighter or anything like that. I'm just saying in the matchup itself that what Phil Hawes was able to do, and when you look back at Jacob Malkoun's fight against his last fight against he's one of an Iridium guy. I forget his name. He's from Ohio, but he didn't look the best that he could.
AJ Dobson.
Yes, AJ Dobson. That's it. Against that fight, I think AJ Dobson's wrestling and grappling is just different. and not as good as a Brendan Allen, and his striking isn't. He has power, he's fast, but Brendan Allen has power, he has speed, he's skillful, and he's good on the ground. I think that this is an easy pick.
Certainly, I think that that's a great.
Prove me
analysis
wrong,
right
Jacob. Prove me wrong, and I'll shut my mouth. I'll come here and I'll put a dunce hat on my head. Like, that's all I'm saying. Prove me wrong.
What did we get right? What did we get wrong? Let us know on the Go Fast Energy Drink hotline and text line at 303-831-1340. Stick around after the break, folks. We're going to be talking this weekend's Road to UFC series. We'll also be going around the world in the weekend rundown and closing out the hour by going 3 rounds. I'm your host, Jordan Kurtz, sitting here alongside UFC middleweight Josh Friend. This is the MMA Plug presented to you by the Talk of Colorado on 98.1 FM, Mile High Sports Radio. Thank you so much for watching. Please hit that like, share, and subscribe button. That helps us continue to produce this original MMA content and bring it for you every single week. Tune in to the MMA Plug presented by DenverSportsBetting.com on 98.1 FM, Mile High Sports Radio on Wednesday nights from 6 to 7 p.m.
or live stream at DenverSportsBetting.com/radio.